How do you teach someone how to cook? Do you give them a recipe that explains every step? Well, that works, but a burger recipe won't teach someone how to make a lasagna. Maybe you can teach them by describing every single ingredient and how to use them in detail. But knowing every way to use a tomato cannot show someone how to be comfortable holding a knife. The truth is, while knowledge is key, learning stuff mostly takes time and experience. Video games and cooking weirdly have a lot in common in that sense. That's why I think the best tutorials don't outright teach you the mechanics. Instead, they let you get a taste of what the rest of the game will be. And while many games do this fantastically, the one that impacted me the most is Dark Souls' Undead Asylum. After creating your character, you find yourself locked into a prison cell. Suddenly, a corpse holding a key drops from above. Looking up, you catch a glimpse of a knight quickly retreating. You then take your chance and you take a look in the pot in the corner. Someone took the time to model this, by the way. Getting out of the cell, you make your way to the end of this hallway, filled with undead husks. It's dreary and uncomfortable. The husks are docile, but seem unstable, banging the walls out of despair. You're encouraged to test your attack controls on these enemies by the messages on the floor. This lets players have the upper hand on the first enemies so they can get used to attacking. On your left, you can see some kind of massive demon just roaming this big open room, further adding to the hostile aura of this hallway. For now, you walk at the end of the hallway and climb the rusty ladder. At the top, you arrive in a large grassy room, and then you see a bonfire. You have the option to sit down next to it, but it doesn't appear to do much, restoring your health if you took damage. After exploring the room for a bit, there doesn't seem to be anything else. The only thing aside from the big "Progress here" door being another door that you can't open from this side. So, because you're playing a video game, you decide to open the big door, which leads to another big open space? What the fuck is this? I thought this was a hard game, not easy breezy, big open room Souls. Oh my god, a boss already? I can't kill him. I do no damage. What the hell? But wait. This gate opened. Fuck. Yeah, no, fuck you, buddy. I ain't messing with you. Oh my god, a bonfire? Oh, hell yeah, of course I'm using a checkpoint. I love how the game first introduces bonfires in a large area, giving players a sense of security. Not because of the bonfire, but because of the large area. Before the bonfire, the only area the player could explore was this dinky cell and this disgusting hallway. Even though they didn't have aggressive enemies, the husks and the demon visible through the bars is enough to instill hostility. So when you arrive in this big open area, it makes you feel safe because you now have room to run around and test controls. The bonfire, on the other hand, well, it just makes you sit down. But when you get ambushed by the asylum demon in that adjacent large room, it instantly shatters the notion of big room equals safety. Running away from the demon and seeing the bonfire, even in this gross and claustrophobic room, you already subconsciously feel safe. Because you're reminded of that large grassy room where you had time to breathe and run around. Either that or you lit it and kept moving forward because you aren't a pretentious video essayist like me. Bonfires are iconic for a reason. Any room containing them automatically becomes a safe haven where players can rest and take their time to breathe, no matter how hostile the area feels. In an aggressive game where you can't pause and every mistake is counted, the most iconic imagery is of a knight sitting at a campfire. And that's because anyone playing this game can relate to struggling through an area just to be blessed by the sight of a checkpoint. And it's also important to mention how, by ambushing the player with an almost unbeatable boss, the game destroys any sense of security and confidence they may have acquired from the easy enemies they fought earlier. Moving forward, you arrive in another big hallway protected by an archer. In this room, you'll find your shield, immediately letting you know that projectiles can be blocked. Information that will be very useful later on. When you come close to him, he starts to run away in this other hallway where you'll find your weapon. Equipping it, you easily defeat him and move forward towards this fog gate. More on them in another potential future video. Listen, there's a lot of stuff I want to talk about in this game, and if I talk about everything here, the other parts are all just gonna sound like this. So this is Blighttown. It's a fucking mess. Entering the room from the fog gate, you can see what appears to be the knight from the intro, laying down in a pile of rubble. But the room he's in is completely inaccessible. On the left side of the room, an item can be seen, but it's too elevated to pick up. And on the right, you find two sets of stairs, one going up and one going down. Looking outside the room, you can recognize the big bonfire area from the beginning. When the gate is open, there is now no other way to go than up. Even though you can clearly see the knight that saved you sitting right there. I don't know, maybe I need shit like bombs or something? I don't know. Whoa, what? Wait, blocking didn't do anything? Why teach me to block stuff if I can't? Ow. The big ball at the top of the stairs is unfair. Absolutely. But only if you run your way through the area. Which you most likely did, since this room hadn't contained any threats at that point. This unfair moment is another example of the game teaching the player to not get too comfortable, by giving breathing room, then putting you on edge when you're overconfident, but still rewarding players who take their time to assess unknown territory, just like the Asylum Demon. Oh yeah, because I didn't mention it, but if you're observant enough and look up in the big doorway, you can see him on the roof, ready to jump you. The metal ball also breaks the rule the game established earlier with blocking, as a way to let players know, yeah, that block button, don't get used to it. We will throw unblockable shit at you. Up the stairs is your first encounter with a hostile melee enemy, and beyond him is a locked door. Since you can't open that door, you'll have to backtrack to find it. Maybe it's that item on that staircase earlier. But as soon as you go back down, there's now a big hole in the wall leading to the knight. Talking to him, he tells you that he has failed in his mission. He then speaks about a legend in his family.
But thou who art undead art chosen, and thine exodus from the Undead Asylum maketh pilgrimage to the land of ancient lords. When thou ringeth the bell of awakening, the fate of the undead thou shalt know.
So, we were wandering aimlessly, just trying to get out of here. But now we have a true goal beyond survival. To ring the bell of awakening. He then gives us a key and the Estus flasks. Whether it was from the archer, the metal ball, or the hollow, you most likely took at least a bit of damage with no way to actually heal aside from bonfires. The Estus flask is your healing potion. I won't go into details in this video, but for now just know you can now feel safer taking damage. Using the key given to you, the upstairs door can now be opened. Moving forward to a balcony, you can truly see the freedom awaiting you. This is where you'll get your ranged option if the class you chose has one. But around the corner, you see 3 enemies, 2 melee husks and 1 faraway bow husk. Good game design tends to introduce different challenges individually before combining them. This is exactly what Dark Souls does, but it also adds a second melee enemy to further make the player uncomfortable. It keeps players on edge to let them know that this game isn't scared to add more. But it's not a comically large amount. This isn't Dark Souls 2 after all. Further down the balcony, there's another room with an armored hollow. This is, for most blind players, a tremendous difficulty spike. This enemy blocks with his shield, forcing the player into playing defensively. The game tries to teach the player parrying in this room, but it's kind of a sad attempt since parrying's challenge isn't about knowing what button to press. It's mostly about knowing timing, but nevertheless, if you didn't know you could parry, now you do. But unlike all the other enemies before, this one is completely off the beaten path, meaning you don't even have to engage with him. Subtly teaching the players that some harder enemies can just be skipped altogether. Going back to the center of the hallway, you see this massive fog door. On the other side, you arrive into the room where you were forced to run away from the demon earlier. But this time, you're the one that has to jump on him. Almost representing how, when you first came into this room, you were small and powerless, not just in terms of gear, but also in terms of knowledge. But now, you're the one looking down, ready to face him. Remember how the metal ball punished you for not thinking and just running? Here, doing a plunging attack rewards those same aggressive players that got crushed earlier by removing a third of the boss's health. Because if you take your time, he jumps and destroys the platform you're standing on. This boss's attacks are slow. He only has a few hammer swipes and slams, and this highly telegraphed butt slam. And all in all, the attacks are not very damaging. The Asylum Demon is very easy, but it still punishes the same overly aggressive players that got rewarded for being quick earlier. The slow attacks tricks them into thinking that they can get many hits in and still dodge, but they often waste all their stamina, leaving them unable to dodge the oncoming attacks. In a way, breaking the confidence they acquired from the massive damage they just inflicted. When I say that this tutorial breaks you, I don't mean that it's insanely difficult. I mean that it constantly breaks down its own established rules to make the player learn. Big rooms are safe? No. Bonfires are safe. You can block stuff? Not this big metal ball. I just beat easy enemies and now I feel like I'm the best? No, you're not. This boss is the culmination of most of the rules the game established. Think you can stand up and judge your options? Nope. He attacks you and brings you down. You think you're confident and keep attacking him? Well, now you don't have stamina to dodge his big hit. Think you can heal quickly in between attacks? Nope, he's not giving you a break. Taking your time to attack him when he's open, you can easily defeat him. When you finally take him down, he drops the key to the giant door. Getting out, you might be vigilant and walk forward slowly. I mean, the game just taught me to always be on my feet. Why wouldn't I expect the game to kick me in the balls again? But no, the game truly just lets you breathe. The path funnels the player towards this cliff, and eventually you trigger a cutscene.
That one day an undead shall be chosen. To leave the Undead Asylum in pilgrimage to the land of the ancient lords. Lordran.
The bird drops you in an area called Firelink Shrine. Disoriented, you spot an NPC. Talking to him for one last time, the game breaks a rule it established.
Well, since you're here, let me help you out. There are actually 2 bells of awakening.